day 2 of the 21 days of prayer in 2026. We were in Psalm chapter 131. It's a very short one, literally only 3 verses. They can fit a bunch of Psalms on one page in my Bible because of how short Psalm 131 is, so you're welcome for that. But don't forget, there's written content that's been printed out. It's on the REVO app. You guys can access it that way. Don't forget to do that and pray through that. Take your time with that. Hopefully this can be kind of a fun supplement to the written devotionals you guys can read. But really our goal is to fuel your time in prayer with God, not just listen to a podcast for a few minutes. But we still want you to tune in. So glad you're joining us for day 2. In Psalm chapter 131, it kind of starts out, at least in the written portion, talking about how noisy this waiting can be. Sometimes a waiting room is really calm. Sometimes I've been to, I remember going to the dentist when I was a kid, and man, the waiting room was wild. They even had like it was meant for kids. It was like a kid's dentist. It was not a dentist for adults that kids went to. It was like a kid's dentist office. And so they had slides and books and toys. They had this whole little like play area. It was almost like a McDonald's play place, back in the day, except it was a little bit smaller than that because it's just a dentist office. But still, that waiting room, you want to talk about noisy, like the lady would come out and, try to call out your name. You'd be like, Nathan, Nate. But instead of that, it's like they're just screaming, just full on screaming to get people's attention. So sometimes, waiting rooms are calm. Other times they're really noisy. Sometimes they're really loud. I heard a good quote that's from Richard Foster, who wrote that book on spiritual disciplines. And he said that in modern times, our enemy, our adversary, Satan, majors in 3 things. And the 3 things that he said were noise, hurry, and crowds. It's like he's trying to drown out what God might be doing in the midst of your life, in the midst of your waiting, because of noise, and to get your mind racing and you're thinking about all this other stuff instead of keeping your eyes focused on the Lord.
Yeah, we were at the beach over Thanksgiving break seeing my parents, and so I took the girls to the outlet stores on Black Friday.
Woo.
And we were waiting to get in. Like, it opens at a certain time and steals,
Bless
deals.
You. That's real love right there,
people
man.
out there, it's cold and like mass chaos. That's the first thing I thought of when you were like listing those 3 things. I was like, that's Good Friday shopping right there. Distractions, crowds, noise, chaos, all in the midst as everybody is waiting on the doors to open, and crazy.
Yeah, I thought that when you said that, I thought you were going to say that was what you did back then in the day. But no, that was literally this year. Yeah. Oh, yikes, man. Yeah. Bless you. That's real love right there. Get you a man that does both right there. That will do that. That's true love. I don't know if I'd be doing that. I love also too something really neat here in verse 2. We almost never get this. God uses feminine, motherly language. He says, I have calmed and quieted my soul like a weaned child with its mother. But, God is God the Father, and almost always uses fatherly and masculine imagery and words and metaphors. But here, one of the few times in the Bible, God uses motherly, feminine language to talk about who he is and what he does. And so David is praying and saying, like a child weaning, I'm safe in my mother's arms. Like I'm not worried about, where I'm going to get my next bottle from. I'm not worried about who's going to pay the bills, but as a child, we just rest in our mother's arms. And that's the kind of waiting that God has for us a lot of times, even if it's something like David, who's waiting to be king most of his life. He was anointed as a young man, and then later on in his life, he ends up having to wait decades before he's king. And yet, even though it was something God promised him, it was a good thing. It was a big thing. This is not just like a simple promotion at work. This is like going from janitor to CEO. This is a big deal for David. He's waiting, but he's able to say, I'm not fixing my eyes on things that are too high and too great and too marvelous for me. I'm not thinking about thrones. I'm just happy with where God has me right now because God has me.
Yep.
He's not content in the situation, but who has him there, and that's what that motherly language was really neat for me to read that and think through that.
Yeah, the analogy here in verse 2 Man, it was challenging for me because like a screaming, out of control, unwieldy child is like everyone's worst nightmare. In a church, in a restaurant, on an airplane.
I mean, heck, just even in your home, you know, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Right. And so the picture that's painted is you and I, with our relationship with God and in our prayer life, are going to be one of those two kids. Dude, I don't want to be the annoying kid who's losing their mind in the corner of the room, that's screaming uncontrollably and not understanding that like God is in control even during this time period. It's like a baby, like when you show a baby a bottle, it knows what's coming.
Right.
And like it trusts, hey, mom's got the bottle. We're getting ready to walk out into this room or sit down in that chair. And I'm like, I'm not going to panic about it. In my setting, kind of as a dad, I think about how when I'm driving my family around, whether it's my daughters or my wife sitting in the front seat, like they are officially, when they're with me, they are the passenger princess. They're not worried about where we're going. They're not worried about looking at the GPS. They're not worried about how long it's going to take to get there or who's going to pay for it or any of that. Like they're sitting in the front seat of the car, you know, with the seat leaned back, playing on their phone. I've got both hands on the wheel, driving, paying attention. Where are the police? Like, what's the speed limit? Where does my exit go? And sometimes it's crazy. Like, I think it's an invitation from God sometimes during our waiting to say, hey, you're gonna be the passenger princess for this season of the drive. Like, I'm in control. I know what to do. I know when we're going to get off and when we're going to get on, and I know how soon we're going to get there. I know every stop along the way. So just do me a favor, like trust in me. You mentioned in the writing, I love how David didn't get prideful, didn't raise his eyes like, I need to be in control of this. I need to be on the lookout. Like when we're in the car with my girls, they're not looking through the windshield. Like they're asleep or playing a game or eating snacks. I'm the one that's looking ahead, saying like, what's next? Where are we going? Making sure we're still on time, watching the GPS, watching everybody around me to make sure. And so I think sometimes like a weaned child, like David describes here, it's our ability to look at God even during the waiting and say like, I know that bottle's somewhere. I know you've got it. I know you've got a plan. I know you know that I need to eat. You've got it all planned out. So instead of losing my mind and showing that I don't trust you and trying to wrestle that away from you and it being a prideful thing to me, I'm just going to sit back and trust that you know what you're doing. And I'm going to ride with you.
I like that. We're a spiritual passenger princess, which honestly, like, this is really hard for us. Psalm 131, that whole idea of not having our heart or our eyes lifted up and thinking on, you know, what's next and all this stuff, but just being able to rest in God's care and trust and provision for us. That's really hard for us to do. Yet we love to just be a passenger princess. We love to just like sit, let somebody else drive the car. It's not often that happens, but it did just the other day where my wife was driving the car and I was in the passenger seat and I was like, oh, this is kind of nice. I was like, this is nice. I'm just going to, let's check the ESPN app real fast. Let me look at the emails real quick. Like, I can't do that when I'm driving. At least I shouldn't. But, you know, when you're in the passenger seat, you know, you're just hanging out. So this is kind of nice. And yet in our spiritual life, we fight that all the time. So that's day 2 for you. Psalm chapter 131. Be a spiritual passenger princess. Let God take the wheel. Let him take control and rest in that. Don't fight it. Don't kick. Don't scream. But just sit there, trust in the Lord and his care and his trust and his provision for you.